Hello. Hi, how are you doing today? I'm Antoine Grayson from MLK High School. My question is, what is the hardest decision you made as being an attorney?
Uh, that's a great question. I think the hardest decisions that get made in my office probably get made more by the assistant U.S. attorneys than by the U.S. attorney. And I think fundamentally the most important decision that we make as federal prosecutors is whether or not to open a case federally. That's the most important decision that we make because the federal system has very significant penalties. A lot of tools are at your disposal, and it's a tough system to be. I see some of my former colleagues. I was a defense attorney. You know, when you hear that the client that you have is being investigated by the feds, you know, that's not such a good piece of news to have to share with your client. So the decision that gets made privately when the case agent or the police officer walks in and talks to that assistant U.S. attorney and lays out the case and tells them, you know, this is what it is, and I think we ought to do it federally because X, Y, and Z. That decision is, I think, the most important and difficult one. And that is why it is so important that assistant United States attorneys understand the kind of power that they have. Because even if you don't charge a case, in the end, the effect that that decision has on people is very, very significant. And I think we have a very good attitude in our office about the importance of those matters. And we have a great group of unit supervisors who are working with the assistant U.S. attorneys to make those important decisions. No case can be opened in the office without the approval of a unit supervisor. And I think in my office right now, the least experienced of the unit supervisors has 20 years in. My apologies to the unit supervisors if I outed your ages.
Okay, sir. Question for you. With the background of the public corruption that we have had here in Calhoun County, and we've seen that we're having a transition among leadership for a younger generation of people who are aspiring to become elected officials or worked in public office. Now, you mentioned something about education and outreach. Does the Department of Justice have any resources or indicate having some resources to do preventive, having preventive cases as far as public corruption, like educating people who are aspiring to become public officials or work in public policy or what have you?
The answer is that is an area that we are getting involved with, and we need to do more in that area. I was a commissioner on the Ohio Ethics Commission. I was appointed by Governor Strickland to serve there. And one of the great things that the Ohio Ethics Commission does, which already exists for all of these officials, state and local county officials, is conduct a very extensive education program that is available about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work so good. I'll tell you a story that I know from years ago as a prosecutor. Our office, your office, was doing a bribery case in the Toledo area. And it was an actual recorded bribe, right? You know, the person had been approached, come to the FBI, and the camera's on as the envelope's going across the table. Envelope goes across the table to public official. Public official says, I'd love to stay, I can't get involved in small talk. I'm late for the ethics training. True story. So education helps, but we need to do education, we need to do enforcement as well.
The last White House had politicized the U.S. Attorney's offices to a certain degree. How was the blowback of that in the current environment or the long-term impact on the U.S. Attorney's offices?
The department, I mean, I've been with the Department of Justice since 1992. And I tell people I have a career-long, with due respect to my wonderful wife, I have a career-long love affair also with the department. It's an incredible place. It's a place that survived Watergate and a lot of things over the years. And while I think it is fair to say that what happened to the 8 U.S. attorneys, I think is what you're talking about, was it was damaging, and it was really hard for me to watch, because I thought of all the thousands of career prosecutors, the ones I've talked to you about today, who were working in the department, who had nothing to do with this, and then I'm worried that they're going to sort of somehow get painted with that same brush. That's what I worried about. I think that we are doing a fantastic job. I'm biased, but I think we're doing a fantastic job of restoring the trust in the department that those very few people succeeded in damaging. I think people do understand, based upon our track record of hundreds of years of doing this, that those actions were not indicative of the broader employment pool at the department and all the federal prosecutors in so many states and cities who are just doing their best to do the right thing.
Steve, I think everybody here wants to talk about corruption. I don't. I want you to talk about trafficking. And I wonder if you could expand a little bit. You mentioned it in the long list. How bad is it in Cleveland? What can be done to intervene in the process? Is this something that the schools need to be involved in? I'll toss it up to you.
That's actually a huge problem. It's not just in Cleveland, though. I want to be careful. We're here in Cleveland today, but in this district, one of the hot spots is Toledo. And the reason why the northwest part of the state is so busy on the trafficking front is, again, because of the highway system. And a lot is being done. There's an FBI task force that works out there. It's one of the highest producing task forces in the country in terms of doing these cases. I also have a personal passion for this issue. I started my career as the involuntary servitude and slavery coordinator. It was before we had the word trafficking in the Civil Rights Division. And I prosecuted something that became known as the El Monte Thai slavery case in California. 70 Thai women literally kept behind barbed wire for years and years, working 20-hour days, 18-hour days for no money, and being kept as slaves. So what can we do about it? I think, first of all, law enforcement can't do this alone. We need to have a comprehensive partnership that includes schools, but more importantly, NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Red Cross is a very good partner in this. The organizations that protect the rights of vulnerable populations, like organizations in this district that protect the rights of Latino workers, of migrant farm workers, legal aid societies. We need to start working with them because there's distrust of us as the federal government. When we go to these populations as law enforcement, federal or state, they don't look at us as the good guys. They look at us as somebody who's going to lock them up for prostitution or tell them they're an illegal immigrant to this country and deport them. And we need to build that trust so that these people who are being victimized feel like they can tell us about what's going on, and that we're not going to abuse that trust and just lock them up and say problem solved, so that the trafficker can go on to the next victim, the next vulnerable victim who he selects, precisely because the defendant knows that they won't talk to us.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we have been listening to Stephen Dettelbach, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio. Thank you, Mr. Dettelbach. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.